I feel like so many listeners are going to be like, I want this job. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I want this job. This is so cool. You get to do so many awesome parts of it. Tell us the other head.
The other half of my dual life is that I run my own content business.
Hey there, and thanks for listening to the Beyond These Clinic Walls podcast. I'm your host, Julia, a PT turned product professional, joined by my delightful partner in crime co-hosts, Emma.
This is my tribe. This is how I think.
And Emily.
That is the best getting into PT story I've ever heard.
Founders of the Clinician Transition. Each episode, we interview former rehab professionals who have leveraged their clinical skills into non-traditional roles. I invite you to come hear the journeys, follow the career paths, and learn about the opportunities beyond these clinic walls. On today's episode of Beyond These Clinic Walls, we are joined by Alexander Stone. Alex is a doctor of physical therapy and clinical content program manager who works in digital health. As a clinician passionate about tech, Alex aims to improve patient care through innovative alternatives to traditional healthcare models, while empowering clinicians to deliver exceptional care. He owns and operates Stone Health, a freelance agency that provides consulting and content production services for a variety of clients in the healthcare space. He has a passion for education and specializes in creating content for digital health programs, educational platforms, websites, and social media. Last episode, we took a deep dive into Alex's career and his journey in becoming a content creator. Today, Alex shares with us his custom show and tell made just for the listeners of the Beyond These Clinic Walls podcast. It is a step-by-step guide to making your first 10K as a digital freelancer. Be sure to follow the link in this episode's bio to visit our show and tell library, access Alex's guide, and follow along throughout the episode. 'Tis the season of giving, so share this episode with a friend who you think might like it, and as always, happy listening.
I feel like so many listeners are going to be like, I want this job. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I want this job. This is so cool. You get to do so many awesome parts of it. Tell us the other head.
The other half of my dual life is that I run my own content business, and I do that entirely remotely, digitally. And I work with a number of different clients across different companies and spaces in healthcare. And it's really all about trying to create really high quality educational content for the clients or the readers or whoever it is of those companies. So I initially, as I was transitioning out of social media, I kind of cut my teeth as a writer, and I got really into educational writing, copywriting, marketing copy. Really fun space to be in because there's not a lot of people in the rehab world that have those skills or are confident in them. So if that's a passion of yours, there's a huge opportunity to turn that into something real. And that's something that I still do today.
I want to plug really quick because I forget what episode, maybe episode 2, Kayla Calhoun's episode. She does medical writing and copywriting. So right after you're done finishing this episode with Alex, go check out Kayla's too, if you want to explore that a little bit more.
Yeah. And so it initially was more of like, I'm just a writer, not just a writer, but I'm really good at writing. I don't know if I can do anything else with this. And pretty quickly I had people approaching me and they were like, hey, we're making an app. Can you do XYZ? Can you write copy for the app? Can you help us create a curated list of video content that will go in the app? And those opportunities kept popping up and it was really cool. And that was this huge realization of this is really a space that needs people who have a formal education doing something different, because there is no degree where you major in rehab sciences and you minor in technology or business or whatever it is that I'm aware of or that anyone I've known has done. But if you're willing to go out and get some of these skills, it's amazing how many people would really like you to work with them.
The skills that made you well suited for this role, your first one on there, I want you to touch on. I think that's just like a huge one that really resonated with me too.
In terms of skills that I think really set me up well for the role that I'm in now, my primary job working at a health tech company as a program manager, it's kind of funny because I get a lot of people that ask me, well, what special training did you do? And it's always so satisfying to say to them, nothing. I faked it all the way. I made it up as I went. And I was just feeling I was passionate about it. And it was okay to go out and make mistakes, fall on my face, be embarrassed, etc. And that has paid off volumes really because I just learned how to do some cool things on the side initially that other people in my space weren't interested in or didn't think they could be good at. And it turns out that there's some really great combinations of skills out there. So nothing special about me except the fact that I wanted to go out and just make a bunch of mistakes and see what happened. And on top of that, again, not technically skills, but I think things that set me up really well for my role and help me do a good job every day is that I'm just really passionate about helping people. I want people to learn and be better and want to be better and help themselves. And through the niche of rehab sciences, for me, physical therapy and adjacent things, that's my passion. And then I'm also, this is a funny thing, it's more technical, but I'm really good at being wrong. Reframing rejection as something that's valuable. Reframing being wrong, I think, can be a really good thing as well. Because when you work on content at a higher level, there's a lot of people looking at it. There's a lot of check marks. There's a lot of people telling you, why did you do this? I don't like this. This didn't turn out how I wanted. And just being able to go, okay, that's fine. We made a mistake. That's okay. We're going to learn from it. And just sticking to the fact that, the ultimate goal is the patient on the other end and them getting benefit.
Yeah, someone recently just told me that every time someone says yes, or like you did it right, it's a missed opportunity for getting feedback as opposed to if you were to say no. And I was like, that's brilliant. And he actually gave me really good feedback on like learning and like getting up to speed on a new role, which I'm in right now. And his like strategy for doing that is to come up with a bunch of like provocative statements or ones that might encouraging you to be wrong about the statement so that you can bring it to that expert or ask your peers and say, is this right? And chances are they'll say no, and then give you the context behind it. And it's an opportunity to learn. And I was like, that's so brilliant because I don't know, as rehab professionals, I think sometimes we're really skeptic to be wrong and to fall on our faces. Tell me, what topics do you want our listeners to know about? What things would you like to chat about?
I would be happy to do 5 or 6. But what do you feel like is more beneficial to your listeners?
I feel like 6 might resonate better, and you have the exact insight into what, because people have been coming to you directly with those questions. And I want this to be a resource for you as much as it is an episode on our podcast. Tell us about some of the questions that you get asked most often or are tired of answering.
Yeah, well, in general, I would say I do like answering questions because to some of the points that you've both made so far, you're willing to go ask a stranger a question. You probably do need help and you're also looking to grow. And I want to support both of those things as much as I can. I want to help people, especially a lot of times it's because they're in the same mental space or situation that I was in. And the people that supported me at that time, I'm so thankful for them. So if I could help give anybody that experience, it's a huge deal for me. But there are a couple things that come up a lot where I just wish I could wear like a poster or like a billboard on my forehead that was like, here's the answer to this question. I know you're going to ask it, just to save them time. What do you recommend for special training before I try to do the things that you do or get a job like yours or whatever it is? And I'm always just like, nothing. Don't worry about it at first. Go explore your options, feel it out, find your passion. And from there, if you decide that it's a good idea to do anything extra, there's a lot of really good resources for you.
We'll link them in the bio.
Yeah, so I'm really passionate about that idea. And I think it's really important because people need that encouragement, especially if you're in a space where you're like, I don't know if the skills that I have are transferable in any way. What would I do if it's not the thing that I'm doing right now? You have absolutely everything you need right now to be doing something different from what you're doing now, if that's what you want to do. You choose to do that with your time. And that's sometimes really empowering for people. Sometimes they're like, oh no, but can you recommend like a specific course or a specific person to talk to? And usually, I can send them to someone else. But in general, just start talking to more people, ask more people that same question if you have to, if that's how you make that connection, and then go from there and you'll figure it out. But the other big one is, and I think this comes from friends and family a lot, but I think it also comes from clinicians who are uncertain about making a change in their lives, and they're just curious what my take is. And that is, didn't you waste your degree? Didn't you go to school for 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is, to do this one thing, and now you're just abandoning it? And there's a couple things that I always make sure I say when they ask me that question. I got my degree to do a specific thing or a specific set of things, and that was to help people and to educate people through movement and lifestyle changes, which is really what I did in the clinic. I know, snap, snap, as a physical therapist. And I'm doing that now. I'm doing it in a different way. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I am happy with what I'm doing. There's so many parts about my life that I'm very thankful for right now because I'm doing something different. And my degree is the reason that I am here. The sunken cost fallacy, just forget about it. You didn't waste your degree. You can always go back to the clinic as well if you go pursue something different. There's just so many different things you can do. I know a lot of people that do hybrid. They're in the clinic half time. They're exploring something different half time.
I just can't believe people ask you that. People, maybe because of my bubble of it's a lot of therapists who are interested in transitioning. I don't get that. No one's ever phrased it as, did you waste it? And I just think about, I had someone the other day apply for a sales role, and they went to the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences.
Wow.
And I'm not going to that person saying, hey, what are you doing? You're wasting that degree, right? There's probably something in there they learned that's going to be helpful for the role they applied to. So it's more just a reflection and normalizing it, because it's so normal in other professions. It should be normal for ours as well.
And it's such an interesting topic too, because there is a need for literacy in these areas. I think really soon it will be a norm in some of these healthcare programs, rehab profession as well, that people come in and talk about what is a non-clinical role, what opportunities are out there. And most of the people that I look up to, I'm finding we're just making it up as they go, as they went. Probably a lot of the people that you look up to are still making it up as they go, and that's okay. But just remember, you can also be making it up as you go. You don't have to have the answers to all your questions right now, but just by taking the first step, trusting your gut, following your passion, you can do a lot of great things. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. It's all going to work out.
Yeah, I need to keep all that advice. I say it to others and I keep needing to say it to myself.
It's time for the show and tell. Woohoo!
I'm really excited for you to share your show and tell. Do you think you can give us a quick little peek into what you're sharing with our listeners for this segment?
Absolutely. This is more in regards to the second half of my double life, which is running a independent copy freelancing business. And because I'm really passionate about how this pursuit has really helped out me, I think it's really important for other rehab clinicians and people in healthcare in general to know that they can do the same thing with no special skills. They can start right now. So what I want to cover is how to potentially work as a digital freelancer, how to set up your business, and how to monetize that, potentially getting to your first $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 and beyond. Because if you want supplemental income, the opportunities are out there. I've done it, and I'm really passionate about encouraging other people to do it.
Amazing. Give us like some of the key points to this.
Starting out as a digital freelancer, you're going to be learning a lot of new terms. You're going to be learning a lot of new strategies, trying things you haven't done before. So some of the most important things to be aware of and that we're going to talk about are, first, what the heck is digital freelancing? Never heard of that before. But then it's exploring where you might work in the digital freelancing space, how to get clients, how to work with those clients, negotiate contracts, how to work for what you're worth, how to build a reputation as a digital freelancer, and then really how to potentially automate and scale the business that you've worked so hard to build up. And this is primarily based on my own experience, but also things that I've learned from other successful freelancers along the way.
Amazing. I'm going to use this today. This is incredible. Yeah, this is such a valuable resource for so many of our listeners.
Absolutely. I would love to walk through some of the components and just kind of chat about it if that's what we're looking for today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I have so many things to say, but I want to try to be concise and just cover some of the really key points that will help you build confidence and get you from not really knowing what this is to being confident in your ability to turn it into an actual business. Digital freelancing in general is just freelancing. We're all familiar with what that is, working on a per contract basis or with private clients outside of your normal 9 to 5 and doing that from home. So from the safety of your own home, in your pajamas, on your laptop. That is why I think it's really important to differentiate freelancing from digital freelancing. Digital freelancing is the one that I like, and I think a lot of other people like. Once you've decided that that's interesting to you, it's really important to find out what's your niche going to be. Let's say you're a physical therapist and you're interested in digital freelancing, and you're like, oh, well, it's probably going to be something related to physical therapy or rehab sciences. But there's other elements to it, like what type of work are you going to do? Are you going to be a writer? Are you going to get into user interface design? Are you going to be a consultant? There's so many different ways you can use your expertise. And a couple ways to refine that idea and figure out where you want to start is to first just think about, what are you good at? If people have told you you're a great writer, great place to start. Maybe you should explore that. You can also think about what you enjoy doing, which isn't always what you're good at. It helps when they're the same thing. So maybe people have told you you're a good writer, but you're just so passionate about apps and you really want every app to be user friendly. And that's the direction you want to go. You want to design the screens that people see on apps. Okay, perfectly fine. Then there's also this question of what can you leverage? And this is really important because you can really quickly get out of the realm of what you're already well positioned to do. Yeah, let's say you're a physical therapist and you're really interested in app design, but all the opportunities out there right now are for mental health apps. Maybe you're not as well positioned to work on those. You might be able to work on them, but your expertise isn't going to be valued as highly. So you have to have this trade-off of, well, how can I do what I want to do the most versus how can I earn the most or be valued the most? So those are really important things to consider. And it's ultimately what can make your business really successful. So I've worked with a lot of people who are making $30 to $40 an hour in the clinic, but when they think about these things seriously, and I've had people within a week start working with their first clients and they're making $70 an hour, $100 an hour. It's a really cool thing to see. And it's all about how you position yourself from the start. So I love seeing that. For those of you who are listening to this and are like, oh my gosh, I'm strapped right now. I need to try to make as much income as I can. Perfectly fine. Couple things you want to focus on are going to be going with the most efficient type of work. So higher level work tends to reimburse better. So maybe instead of being a writer who works a lot of time to get that perfect copy, you're an editor who reviews somebody else's work. It's a lot more efficient. You can also always leverage your degree to the highest level. So only do work that they will want an expert, a subject matter expert to be working on. That typically pays a little bit better. And then finally, pay structure matters. So go for those high hourly rates and talk to people about potentially getting a retainer. Those things can make a huge difference from the start if that's a really important thing to you. Okay, so once you've figured out what you want to do, it's really important to your business to have people who are going to work with you. Someone's got to pay you, and that's going to be your clients. This is another thing that a lot of people talk to me about. They say, I have patients, I don't have clients. How am I supposed to find people who want me to work for them and doing something different from what I'm really comfortable doing? We just have to remember that fake it till you make it to a certain degree. It's okay to not be perfect at first, but there's a couple of things you can do to help find clients. One of the easiest ones is to just ask your friends. If you're in the rehab sciences, you've got other friends who are also going to be clinicians. They have patients, they have coworkers, they have family, and one of them is bound to have someone who's looking for an external consultant, a writer, project manager, whatever it is, and that can be the fastest way. You can also ask your clinic or people in your clinic. So a lot of people work in private clinics or they work in other types of outpatient clinics, pretty common. Those clinics need marketing, they need materials, they need stuff to stand out. Really great way to just ask your boss, ask the clinic manager, ask whoever handles that stuff if there's space for you to help. It can be a really great way to get experience really fast, and it's kind of a comfortable setting. And then the other option, and this is one that I think most people will do, which is using a freelancing platform. There's a lot of great freelancing platforms out there that can help you find clients really quickly. I won't list the names here. They will be in the resource, but you can jump on these and find clients usually within a day, a couple days. And it's really convenient if you're not comfortable with setting your own terms, writing your own contracts yet. So really recommend that. But you should be able to get clients pretty quick. And that's usually when the confidence starts to build up. A couple notes on freelancing platforms, though, they can be challenging, especially if it's a new thing for you. Totally okay. I've made some mistakes and I've got some tips. So when you're choosing the freelancing platform that you want to join, think about the type of work you're doing. And when I say the type, I mean the format or the nature of the work. So again, if you're a writer versus a designer versus a consultant, think about what you want to do and look into those platforms and see what they best lend to. If one is known for creative design, probably more clients are going to be looking for that. Doesn't mean you can't find something different, but it can increase your odds if you're only going to be on one platform. Also think about your strategy. Client engagement can be a passive or an active process. And a passive process is one where you're essentially a store and you have services and someone clicks on it and buys that service from you. The other one, which is active, is going to be where you apply for those jobs, you interview for them, you submit a proposal. So think about what you're more comfortable with. I encourage active because it's going to get you out of your comfort zone a little bit more, and it also stirs the pot a lot quicker. But also consider what fees you're willing to pay. Some platforms are going to take 10%, some are going to take a different percentage, whatever it is. Just make sure that fits into your budget and make sure it's included in your price as well. I also want to talk about setting prices with your clients, which I think is really important. The biggest thing that I see with people coming from the clinic is they don't want to charge more than what they earn in the clinic. Maybe they think that's what they're worth. That's certainly what their time is worth in one place, but what your time is worth in another place is a completely different thing. You're doing a different job. You're lending different expertise. And frankly, it's to people who have more money, deeper pockets. Perfectly okay to make that work in your favor. So always charge what you believe your time is worth, not necessarily what you're getting paid by the director of your clinic or whatever boss you're working for. Look around if you're unsure, see what other people are charging for their time. You will be shocked. It certainly for me was shocking. There's no way my time is worth this when I'm working at home on my computer, but it is. To the right person, it absolutely is. And think about the people you want to work with as well. So it's always going to be a balance. Some clients that are willing to pay you quite a bit, you might just not want to work with, and that's perfectly okay. It comes down to what kind of lifestyle you want, what projects you want to work on as well. But overall, whenever you're negotiating your rates with someone, just be bold. Just come out and say exactly what you're worth. It's okay. They can tell you no, and they have no problem telling you no, and you can just give them a different rate, and that's okay. But always be transparent with them. We're not trying to gouge anybody. We're not trying to pull one over on anybody. The goal is for them to get what they want and for you to be happy giving it to them. So whatever rate that is, that's perfectly okay. And just don't be afraid to walk away. I think, especially if it's one of your first few contracts or clients, you're going to be nervous and you're going to think, well, if I lose this, then that's all the income I was going to get. It's okay to say no. And if they really want you, then you can just have another conversation with them down the line. Perfectly okay. It's also important if you get a weird feeling about a client when you're negotiating with them. Usually people who create problems early on are going to create more problems later on. So trust your gut. Which brings me to my next point. If you're working with difficult clients, and certainly I have worked with a few, there are a few things that I recommend. There's no perfect guide to working with your clients. You're going to be learning every time. Every client's different. Every problem's going to be different. But a couple things that I've run into, problems that I've created for myself while working with a client, I took on too much work, or the work that I took on ended up ballooning, and it was more than I thought it was. This is going to happen because you can't perfectly predict how much commitment there is for something. So for example, you took on work with someone, they're paying you $80 an hour, and you anticipated a 5-hour-a-week commitment to that project. Now you're realizing it's actually 15, and you have other priorities. You're in the clinic, you've got a family. It's perfectly okay to just talk to them about it and say, I thought this was going to take me less effort. It's taking me more. That's okay. Just suggest new terms, especially important if you're doing this on a per job basis. So if they had set a rate for everything to be completed, I've never had somebody have an issue with it. Actually, every single time I've talked to a client and said, we need to try something different, they're totally supportive. So don't be afraid. If you got better opportunities, which often happens, you started on something you liked and then you got an opportunity for something that you think you'll love, it's okay to just walk away. There are very few commitments in the digital freelancing world. At the same time, you want to keep positive relationships with people. So just transition out gracefully. I say if you're doing something, you want to try something new, you only have the time for one of them, take a couple of weeks to slowly transition out, communicate really well with your clients, and they're generally going to be happy. So you might get an interesting experience with that, but I've never had an issue. I do want to kind of jump to some problems that your clients can cause, which is the more stressful of the two. So in general, clients can do things like changing deadlines on you or giving rude feedback or communicating really poorly or just not paying you what they said they were going to. All these things can happen, although they're rare. And when that happens, just remember, they want you to work for them. So at some point, they're going to have to be accommodating. So just start that conversation early if you're noticing a problem. And just remember that this is one client. There's a bunch of clients out there. You can work with whoever you want because you're awesome and you have all these great skills. It's okay to let them go to live a lower stress lifestyle. And just remember, if you're writing your own contracts or if you're on a freelancing platform, there's terms to protect you. So there's a lot of freelancers out there. They've all worked with difficult clients at some point. And having those terms is really great because that protects your reputation, protects you from bad reviews, protects payment, all those things. So if you are writing your own, just make sure those terms are in there. But a lot of platforms have them already. So that's a little bit about working with clients. But another really important part when you're trying to, because remember, we're trying to get to our first 10K or our first 50K. We're not trying to get to our first $10. So we have to keep it going. We have to get more clients, have to do more great work. And a really big part of that is going to be building your reputation through reviews and your portfolio. This applies to pretty much any digital freelancer, because if you think about it, it's kind of like shopping online for the clients and you're kind of like the product. And you want to look nice and be shiny and have great pictures and 5-star reviews. Those things really help people take the jump, trust you more ahead of time, and really value you for what you're worth. So super important. Couple tips I have for getting reviews from your clients. Ask everybody for reviews. It doesn't matter how small the job was. Just ask them for a quick share of their experience. If you're comfortable asking them for that 5 stars, that's great. If it's out of 10, ask them for 10. But hopefully it's out of 5. And then just feel out the relationship you have with that client. If they're really warm and you have a great relationship, just tell them flat out, hey, these reviews make my business. Please, if you can leave a 5-star review, I would be so happy. Everybody's happy to help. But regardless, it's really important to let them know how important those reviews are. If you don't think a client had a great time, you could leave it up to them. But if you're bold and you really want to get those reviews stacked, you can still ask. It's no coincidence that a lot of the most successful digital freelancers have tons of reviews, even if they're not the most skilled workers. In terms of building your portfolio, keep it visual. Pictures are really valuable. So screenshots are your friend. It goes really far with potential clients and helps them just sign up for your help a lot quicker. When you are using words, though, be strategic. Think about the work you like doing. Think about what work you want to keep doing and what words those potential clients are looking for. So if you're in one line of work, look up what the keywords are, what the buzzwords are, and make sure to include those so that potential clients are like, wow, they know what they're talking about, and I can trust them a little bit more. In terms of scaling, automating and scaling, which is a really important part, because although you can make a lot of supplemental income, get a lot of good work done as a digital freelancer working on your own, bringing in other tools and other people can help you scale basically however far you want to go. So for those who are a little more ambitious, a couple of things to consider. The first one's going to be AI. You really can't go 24 hours without talking about AI today. And that's for a really good reason. It's really, really amazing technology. It is changing the way a lot of people work. And it's just really important to be aware of how to use AI and how it can impact you. So this is based on my experience, but also what I've learned from some other people. If you're interested in using AI, dive in headfirst. Get your free account with the popular learning model or another tool you've heard about and go in, experiment, have it do funny things, try to train it, make it more intelligent, learn how to give it context, and see if it's something you could see yourself working with. If you like it, absolutely use it in your business. If you're able to unlock 10% of what these AI tools can accomplish, then you can absolutely change your freelancing business, which is a huge deal. So don't be shy with it. Dive in head first and don't be afraid. It's not going to take your job. It's just going to make it easier. On the flip side, if you don't like AI, that's totally okay. I actually work with clients who explicitly do want me to use AI and explicitly do not want me to use AI. So there's a huge market and a lot of potential clients out there. They want you to do everything by hand, digitally by hand, no AI. So if you're afraid of AI or you don't want to get with it, that's okay. There's plenty of people who will be ecstatic that you do not use it and you do not want to use it. However, always talk to your clients about it, because AI is technically somebody else doing work for you. Anytime you do that with a freelancing client, you want to tell them. It can hurt your reputation to deceive people, and there's no good reason to do it. Once you've ironed out some of how you run your day-to-day, maybe you've hit your first 10K as a digital freelancer and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, well, how about I go half time and I scale this and I make it a $20,000 a month endeavor? You can also do that, which if you're working in the clinic right now as a rehab professional, you might be like, I didn't think that was possible. It's totally possible. There's a couple things you should know about if you do want to do that, aside from the fact that it will take some time and effort to get to that point. But once you're feeling confident, you can scale your business. And scaling essentially just means growing, making it bigger, getting more people involved. The first way you can do that is through subcontracting, which in the freelancing world means bringing on another person to work under you for the work that you're doing for a client. Let's say, Jules, that you were working on a series of articles for one of your clients, and they were comfortable with you acting as the editor and your subcontractor acting as the writer, because it's your brand, it's your sign off, and you stand behind everything that you put out. You can do that and scale that with multiple subcontractors who do a little more of the busy work, and you do a little more of the higher level work, just like any other company would operate. Really great way to, one, get some really cool experience in management in the tech world, but two, to go way beyond what your working capacity was. And potentially, if you're just trying to work less, it's a great way to maintain the same level of productivity while working less, which is really great. So start small and grow slow. Bring on one person that you trust, train them up really well, give them a reason to stick around. Remember, they're your freelancer now, you're their client, and you want to treat them well and give them a reason to stick around. Make sure they're reliable, pay them well, be nice. At this point, you should have some expendable income. So don't be afraid to line their pockets a little bit to get them to like you a little bit more. I've certainly done that. I know a lot of people work with people from other countries for very, very low rates. I don't do that personally. I don't pay anybody less than $30 an hour who works for me. And that's just how I run my business. But you're free to do whatever you want and you get what you pay for, I think. But it could be friends, it could be family, it could be somebody that you work with in the clinic. So who knows? Becoming an agency is a little bit different. Essentially, once you bring on a number of subcontractors, you could be considered an agency. You are the manager of a freelancing agency, and you work with a number of different subcontractors, or you could call them employees, depending on how your business is structured, to work with a number of different clients. So at this point, you're turning over a lot of work. You're bringing in a lot of revenue, and it's pretty exciting. But always think about who's working for you and the ultimate goals of the business. So when it comes to the clients, use your reputation that you established as an independent freelancer to really build up the reputation and help them feel more confident having you work with other people. Make sure they know that it's saving them money too. So you might have a really high rate if you had to do everything yourself. By bringing other people into the equation that work with you, that are vetted by you, it saves them money as well. And then just remember that now that you've got a team of people, you can specialize people. So if you've got one person that's working for you who really likes writing, awesome. Let that person be the writer and help them develop their skills. If you've got another person who works for you and really likes editing, or let's say they work on video content or something like that, great. Let that person take all of those contracts. Just as a quick review, find your niche, get a few clients, learn how you want to structure your business, be firm with prices, focus on building good relationships with your clients. Don't be afraid to walk away or adjust the contracts that you're involved in. Build a really good reputation online, and then start scaling using automation and other people. If you do those things, I think you'll be really, really happy. And I just love watching people grow in this space. And initially, it can be really shocking to them, like, oh, I have valuable skills outside of the clinic. And I think that's, for me, the best part. It's really empowering for them. And that just is really cool to see.
Alex, that was phenomenal. That so many people are going to really benefit from this. Thank you so much for doing this.
Alex, it was so great. Thanks for hopping on. Anyone who is passionate about bringing our profession into not only catching up with everyone, but modernizing it beyond that, and also giving people so much information on controlling their own destiny without needing a ton of other people was really nice to hear as well. So anyone listening, when you make your first 10,000, even your first 1,000, please let us know. That would be exciting to hear about, whoever's successful in that endeavor. So you've done so much for us. I'm sure making that 11-page document, people, make sure you open it up. There's so much good information in there. You've done so much for us. Is there anything Jules and I or anyone listening can do for you in return?
I think all I would really ask of the people listening is to explore the things that they're interested in, clinical and non-clinical, and make sure that you're doing what you told yourself you wanted to do when you started going to school, in whatever capacity that happens to be. And I would just thank both of you for having me. This was a blast. You're both very accomplished and intimidating people, and it was just a pleasure to sit down and just be at the same level for a little while. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, I feel like the reverse. I was like, Alex has his together. This is great. Well, no, thank you for being on our show, Alex. Thank you for all you've done. We really appreciate it. This was a joy.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for listening to this episode of the Beyond These Clinic Walls podcast. As always, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram at Beyond These Clinic Walls for all the latest updates and episode releases. Make sure to join the Clinician Transition group on LinkedIn and Slack to be part of the networking community for like-minded rehab professionals. Questions, comments, concerns, or do you know someone who might make an excellent guest on our next show? Reach out to us at beyondtheseclinicwalls@gmail.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening.